Golden State Warriors took over the league by storm in 2015 and created one of the greatest dynasties that the NBA has ever seen, taking the NBA by storm and in the process assembling one of the greatest big threes we've ever seen in NBA history. Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Steph Curry, all three of these guys are going to be in the Hall of Fame one day and are going to be regarded as some of the greatest basketball players to ever play, especially Steph Curry, who is to some already considered the greatest point guard in NBA history. This team, this dynasty over the years have given us some of the most polarizing moments and up and down moments throughout NBA history, and throughout their own trials and errors, they've still found a way to still make it on top. But, as they say in life, not all good things last forever. And this year, the Golden State Warriors are not the same team who they were in the beginning of their run when they were on top of the world. Now the Warriors are just another team. In this video today, I'm going to be discussing the struggles of the Golden State Warriors. But don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more basketball content every single week. We're making videos on this channel. I believe 95% of people who watch this channel are subscribed. So that will be really, really nice if you just take out your time and just hit that subscribe button. It would really help me out a lot. I really would appreciate it. After a very disappointing end to their season last year, the Golden State Warriors, in my opinion, didn't really solve their issues in the offseason. As we all know, one of the biggest and most glaring issues that they had in the playoffs last year was a lack of size, and that was definitely shown against the Los Angeles Lakers. And in that series, they pretty much didn't stand a chance. I mean, Kevon Looney, he was playing really good in that series against the Sacramento Kings, but against the Lakers, that's a totally different animal. And that size showed because the Warriors, they were practically just a three-point shooting team in that entire series. And they go out in the offseason and they acquire Chris Paul. Chris Paul is a great player. He's obviously going to be a Hall of Famer, but he's not the same Chris Paul who he was 5-6 years ago when he was still considered one of the best players in the league. Getting Chris Paul now on this Warriors team, I feel like I wouldn't necessarily call that the blame, but when you look at some of the numbers in comparison to when they had Jordan Poole on the team, Jordan Poole, he was one of the league leaders last year in transition points, and that also played a big role in Klay Thompson and his scoring alongside as well with Andrew Wiggins. And Chris Paul, he's not really the type to really play strong in transition, and the Warriors are one of the worst transition teams now in the NBA. There's a big benefit of having Chris Paul is you don't turn over the ball, and he's a great playmaker. He can get guys many wide open opportunities. Those are really the beautiful things of having Chris Paul on this Golden State Warriors team. But of course, you can't fully put all the blame on Chris Paul. I mean, that's just not really the case right now. I believe that Draymond Green also, well, of course, as we all know, plays a big factor into why the Golden State Warriors are struggling this season. The guy just across the charts, I don't really think he's just the same player anymore, if I'm being completely honest. And, Draymond Green has been the foundation, I believe personally, been one of the foundation pieces for this Warriors team. He is the glue that really holds everything really together, even when it comes to playmaking, it comes to defense, especially defense, which the Warriors this year, I believe they're in the middle of the pack this year in the defense. And when they've won their NBA championships, they've been one of the best defensive teams in all basketball. And granted, over the years, they've had many great defenders on this team, but Draymond Green has been the best defender, and he's won Defensive Player of the Year for crying out loud. But he has not shown that same level this season. And I mean, it's really not good when your team is struggling and you out here choking out people like it's nobody's tomorrow, man. Like, dang, calm down. But moving on as well with Klay Thompson. Klay Thompson this year, man, he's having one of his worst seasons since his rookie year of his NBA career, which is just kind of sad. I wasn't expecting this. I mean, I know last year, it's almost like last year Klay's literally picking off where he left off in the playoffs when you think about it, because he was struggling throughout the playoffs, especially in the series against the Lakers. He was not really playing that good. And it's like that pretty much picked over into this year, into this NBA season now. And, he's shooting 40% from the field. He's shooting career lows. He's averaging 15 points per game. I think he has a negative net rating as well. I mean, everything for Klay Thompson is just going downhill this year. And you can tell that that's really bothering him. You listen to the press conference and he was just saying things about him possibly getting benched, him and Andrew Wiggins. But, he's obviously aware of the media and the talks of him and the things that have been going on with this Warriors team. But Klay Thompson this year really struggled on the offensive end of the basketball court. And we just have to accept the reality with Klay that he, even after that Achilles injury, he did average over 21 points per game, I believe, last year, which is still really, really good. And, those are kind of typical Klay numbers. But the drop-off for him will eventually come sooner or later. And the reality is that it's kind of happening right now as we speak. He's not the same player that he was. And, granted, he still has a whole NBA season to really figure it out because Klay is a very, very talented basketball player when he's at his best. But he has just really struggled this season. And there's been, of course, many trade talks about him possibly getting traded and this or that. It's just been a really rough year right now for Klay Thompson. But also another guy who struggled this year, of course, is Andrew Wiggins. This is probably one of his worst years of his NBA career. Andrew Wiggins, he's been through this before. I mean, for crying out loud, his comeback story was on the Golden State Warriors because of how his career took a turn for the left. Guy went from averaging over, 17 points per game last season to now only averaging around 13 points per game this season alone. That's a really big drop off. He's had some good games throughout this NBA season, but for the most part, this year has definitely been a big struggle right now for Andrew Wiggins, who has been one of the keystones as well in this Warriors team consistently competing for NBA championships. And I hate to say this, but the Warriors, even though they had to do what they had to do, they are going to miss the presence of not having Jordan Poole, who's a guy who averages just around 20 points per game, that extra scoring and offense that they need. That is definitely going to be missed on this Golden State Warriors team, despite his struggles now on the Washington Wizards. But speaking away from that, and really, of course, going back to the reality for the Warriors right now, another person who you have to really put the blame on for their struggles right now is Steve Kerr. Steve Kerr is not really making a great job with his lineup. Steve Kerr is the type of coach as well that, he kind of lets his players figure out the adjustments throughout the game. He's not the type of coach that's going to really do that himself. He lets his players do that in game. And, this dynasty, this run, look, man, this has been a fantastic team over the decade. They've won 4 NBA championships. But the reality is for Kerr, he's really got to implement more of his younger players on this team. With Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, these guys have actually shown the ability to really contribute on this Warriors team for them. And, you really have to give them more time to grow and develop, because the reality is these guys, they're getting older. They're not getting younger. Steph is still playing at a very high level, for crying out loud. But this isn't going to last forever. And looking at what Kerr is doing with these lineups, and he's just really catering to the big three of the Warriors. He's really catering to the veterans on this team, and more so forgetting about the younger guys on this team. Because I get it. When you have Steph Curry, who's a guy who is still playing at a very high level, you're going to want to still build a championship team around him, and that's the reality. But you got to give these younger guys the opportunity to grow and develop their game even more. And when they played really, really good. Being honest, I can't really say anything wrong about Stephen Curry. Stephen Curry is doing what he's always been doing now. He's been carrying this Warriors team, putting them on their backs. But him scoring 35 points a night or whatever is still not even going to help them win games on any given night now. And it sucks because Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, Draymond Green, all three of these guys, they have played together their entire NBA career. So why would you want to see these guys split up? It would be weird seeing Klay Thompson on another team. It would be weird seeing Draymond Green on another team. It's supposed to end in a way where the teams like these, organizations like these, where the success has been so large that these guys, they finish out their careers together and that things end off hopefully on the right track. But it doesn't seem that way right now for this Warriors team. This is still a long NBA season ahead of us. And still, the Warriors have done it before in the past where they've struggled before, but they figured out things. And the same thing can happen now. you know, they could just be on a stretch where things aren't really on the right track. But if they can hopefully figure it out and make a big turnaround, that will be great for them. Because, you know, at the beginning of the year, they had a great start to the NBA season, and then they started losing games and whatnot, and things just really hasn't been the same since. But hopefully this Warriors team can really figure out things, because you don't want this dynasty, you know, to end off on a bad note where, you know, the guys have to get traded away, and, you know, you still have to try to find a way to win championships with Steph. But that's really the reality of the situation. That's what's possibly going to happen if Klay or Draymond continue to decline in their production. Things don't change if Kerr doesn't make some implements as well. This Warriors team is going to be in a very, very huge dilemma. But I hope you guys enjoyed this brief video today. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more basketball content each and every single week. Have a great day. Peace.